Club of Buloba. President, I would like to inform the Rotary family here that on Saturday, the Rotary Club of Buloba will be holding a family health day in Chenjojo, and this event is aimed at treating common illnesses in the communities in Chenjojo, vaccinating against COVID, awareness against Ebola, and also giving kits to the elderly. I invite you all to come and join us, and for those who come from that part of the country, please let's share the moment of serving Rotary, of serving the community, as we also have fun. I thank you.
Thank you, Justus. We'll have two more. Let's go with Kate Barasa. Please come in. Then we'll go to Ruth, and then we'll close the Rotary information.
Thank you very much. Good morning, President. The Eastern Mega Fellowship is on 28th to 30th of October. Rotarians registration is 150,000, and for Rotaractors it is 100,000. President, I'll post the details in the chat. Thank you, President.
Thank you, CMP Kate. Rotarian Ruth, please come in.
Thank you, Rotarian Patience. Can I be heard?
Loud and clear. Please proceed.
Thank you. Mine is okay. Well, information, and also I would like to recognize and introduce our guests who have joined us this morning, if permitted, Madam. Can I go ahead and introduce them?
Proceed.
I would like to recognize a potential Rotarian, Tukesi Gabone, who has joined us. Actually, this is the third time he's joining us. He holds a bachelor's degree in science technology, that is physics, from Chambogo University, and currently works with London Recruitment Group as a booking consultant. He's here with us to learn more about Rotary. Then I also have Elder Shumi Mlingo, who is a friend and an elder we go to church together at Mount Olive SDA Church. He has also joined us to learn more about Rotary. Also, as part of information, we have visiting Rotarians from District 6270 in Wisconsin, visiting District 9214 and 9213. They are flying in from Tanzania, that is District 9214, and they are arriving this evening here in Uganda, and they will be here until 22nd. I've shared the activities with our Rotarians in the Rotary Club of Kampala Daybreak, and also they are going to visit they have the activities, and I've shared. Kindly join us. We have a dinner on Friday at the home of the charter president for Seven Hills called Hope Message, and I'll be sharing more information later. Please join us, and we give them a warm welcome to Uganda. It's in the arrangement of Rotary Friendship Exchange. We went there last June in Wisconsin, and now they are paying us back the visit. Thank you very much. Those are some of the enormous benefits we get as Rotarians. Thank you. Have a blessed and fruitful fellowship.
Thank you, Rotarian Ruth, for that information, and the visitors will be welcomed. President, please broadcast the page again. Okay, Rotarian Irene, please come in and introduce our guest speaker this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rotarian Patience. Good morning, Rotarians, Rotaractors, and our guests. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our guest speaker today, who is going to talk about financial literacy and debt management Our guest speaker is by the names of Mr. Magezi Anthony. He's a family man, a husband of one, and a father of 3 handsome boys and 1 girl. He went to Nyakasura School for both O and A levels, and an alumni of Makerere University, where he obtained 3 degrees. He mastered in public administration and management. He has a bachelor's of law and a bachelor's of environmental management. He has about 12 years working experience, mainly in the financial institution sector, and currently manages the business and commercial clients portfolio of Stanbic Bank Uganda Limited. He's also involved in several private business partnerships with interests in hospitality and financial services. Mr. Magezi is passionate about using the knowledge and skills gained to transform communities. He loves charity work and participates in charity causes, especially related to education and supporting the vulnerable, networking, collaboration. He loves reading and adventure, and he participates in sports like cricket, volleyball, football, basketball, and a fan of movies. Members on this call, please join me in welcoming Mr. Magezi to Kampala Daybreak. Mr. Magezi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Irene. Can I be heard?
Loud and clear. Please proceed. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, Rotarians. I'm happy to be here, and hopefully I will be much more here in future. My task today was simple to what you call financial literacy and debt management. I call financial fitness check. I don't know whether Irene you can project. And so we are going to go through what we'll call a financial fitness check. Why we need it now is because, as you are aware, we are up and about. The monies are in and out of our pockets. The prices are over and above. Everything is really going sideways. So it's very important that at this time, perhaps we could have a chat, check in and see where we are, but equally try to manage the little that we have and try to survive. Okay, let me see whether I can project. Okay, can I be given permission to project? Okay. Please confirm whether you can see my screen.
I can see financial fitness check.
Wow, okay. So today I'll be as brief as possible. I'm well aware of the time, and we are going to purely speak about financial fitness. So what will be some of the expectations? One is that hopefully we can have a little bit of holistic thinking about money. We can know how to use our money wisely, purely personal financial management or finance management. And then perhaps you can do a little bit of savings where the finances allow. Most of us have a lot of debts here and there, personal, financial, and from all kinds of sources. So we are going to talk a little bit about loan management or debt management. A little bit really about investment, and investment, I will look at it from 2 angles: the angle of where you're working or you're in form employment, or where you're in full throttle business. Insurance will come through the discussion a little bit, pure about our future, about our children's future and the people we care about. And then, of course, planning for old age and retirement. Why? Because all of us at some point have to retire or have to age, and some of us are already there. So we need to plan early enough for that. And finally, I'll speak about what options that you have, and that perspective will purely be from where I work from the bank's perspective. Like Irene mentioned, I look after all the business and commercial clients of the bank. That is Stanbic Bank. And so I do a lot of interactions with businesses, with individuals in all sizes and shapes, and in all financial situations, healthy, unhealthy, distressed, bad, and all that kind of stuff. And so hopefully by end of this, we'll be able to have a clue or have knowledge about that. So how are we looking like in Uganda today? And if you can see the screen, I'll try to summarize a little bit. One of the issues that has come out is clearly we are still suffering from the post-lockdown effects. The businesses are struggling. The money is in our pockets. There are a lot of holes in there. We have a lot of market withdrawals. I think you've all heard that Game is moving out of the market. Game is a multinational supermarket which was employing over 5,000 people. Of course, you have a lot of restructurings of businesses, of jobs and all that kind of stuff. Inflation and currency volatility. The CBR rate is now at double digit. The CBR rate is the central bank rate, and it's what most of the banks or most of the lenders benchmark on to lend to you and me. Of course, the inflation is all over the roof. You have the fuel conundrum that has come down a little bit by about 400 shillings, but what it was 1 year ago, 3,800, 3,009, and the 6,040 that we're experiencing today is really out of the roof. And of course, you know, it has a wider impact on pretty much the economy and all other services and products that we consume. And then for the guys in business and most of us who have a side income here and there, we are experiencing a very, very aggressive tax environment. And perhaps you must have seen one of those communiques from the URA, I think 2 days ago, that is saying that now we are going into they're increasing the threshold of payee for the secondary businesses or the secondary income sources that are earning more than 15 million to about 40%. So we are really in a very aggressive tax environment. And so what does this mean? What all this means is that we will experience and we still continue to experience a lot of business losses, and business losses means businesses collapsing, a lot of job losses. You have everyone trying to restructure, trying to put the redundant resources aside, trying to merge as many jobs as possible, trying to ensure that the human resource that they have are able to multitask. Definitely that leads to reduced income. Then you have a spike in living costs, and then practically then you end up working as you pay. You live for work, or you live for pay. What you work is what you spend, and most times you find yourself in a consumption debt. Of course, we have a lot of macroeconomic factors at play, and those can be summarized by about 3 factors. One is that you have a lot of inflation, and that's why you're seeing the central bank almost month on month are trying to increase the central bank rate. They're trying to getting a lot of feedback. I don't know whether it's me or somebody's mic is unmuted. So you have you have inflation that is going on. And so usually what happens is the central bank tries to make lending a little bit more expensive, and that way they are able to whip the excess liquidity out of the market. Of course, you have the volatility in exchange rates. You have the dollar trading at about 308 for the past 7 months. What that means is that if you're using products that are coming from out, if you're doing a lot of trade like what most of our businesses do, trading in China, Thailand, and those most Mid-East countries, you'll have a lot of goods coming in, but a little bit more expensive. And then, of course, the interest rates. And then on the political landscape, we can speak of partner strains. You've been hearing of the ECOP, the East African the East African pipeline, where you have the European Union Parliament the other day giving its advice on the pipeline. You equally have a lot of strain on funding. You've all heard that the DGF is about it's about 450 billion facility that has been here for the last 6 months. They are phasing out of the country, and so that is what a little bit informs our economy today. Of course, the key sectors that are being affected can be really summarized into public sector. If you're a public worker, if you're a government worker today, you will be much aware that about 2 to 3 months they haven't yet gotten their funding. The percentage increases that were promised to the science teachers are not yet realized. And so you have a lot of really strains in terms of finances, and that is what we are going to speak about. So why this session? And I'll try to summarize as much as possible. One is that most of the employees, about 25%, spend pretty much their working day. The working day means the productive hours, worrying about the financial issues, worrying about rent here, worrying about fees here, worrying about, Uganda being pretty much a very, kind of homogeneous community. You worry not only about yourself and your kids, but pretty much about your extended family and your community. And so what that means is that productivity definitely increases. You have a lot of stress with those employees. You have a lot of discomfort around their financial solutioning and around their financial benefits. And so pretty much most times you find yourself working for working. You have to work to survive. Sometimes you have so much left to do anything significant outside your own survival, your family's survival. So that is one of those facts. The other one is that that we all know is that almost 60% of the startups do not celebrate their 5th birthdays. And so for all the businesses that start today, about 60% won't be able to look at celebrating their 5th birthday. But other than that, you equally have about 80% of the distressed businesses getting out of that situation or debt. And so what you find is that whichever business goes into distress, financial otherwise, most likely will collapse. And we are talking of about 80%. So while we do a lot of entrepreneurship as Ugandans, we have tried, or we are trying so hard, and sometimes the so hard is not bearing fruit to manage. We find ourselves struggling by the 5th year, and sometimes even by the 2nd year. Then one of the other glaring facts is that you have 85% of businesses being either sole ownerships or being companies, but those companies, most times you'll find me and you're my brother, one of the other partners is my kid, one or the other is my wife. And so we haven't yet gotten into a culture of trying to spread the risk, and how you do that is trying to do a lot of financial partnerships. I can bet you, me and Mr. President, Madam President, you will guide me. If you looked at the members here and you try to look at some of those which can come on a financial partnership, pretty much you'll find they are less than 5. And that is really a general trend. What that happens is that you fail or you struggle in management, or sometimes those businesses are pretty much hinged on the owner or the godfather in that business, who in that case is the person who thought of starting it. The risk with that is that when that person is out of play, then you have a business that collapses in the shortest time possible. I really don't have to labor much on some of the examples, very huge businesses that we thought could survive the test of time. You have the owner dying today, and in 1, 2, 3 months, you have chaos all over the business. And for me, that is one of the things as we move forward that we need to look at. That is one of the things that we need. We have a lot of human resource. When we are able to come together individually, purely for a business purpose, we are able to do much more. We are able to spread the risk much more. We are able, to do a lot of controls and management, where you have a partnership of like-minded but not really related by blood and the like. I'm not saying that family businesses don't work. Perhaps you've heard of the Madvanis, of the Mukwanos, but they were able to get the basics for them to be where they are. So yes, family businesses can work, but you have to be very prudent. You have to be very deliberate on the actions and the like. And then the other is that 98% of the workforce in Uganda today has only NSSF as the only retirement saving. And most of those, when we retire 2 years down the road after being given those savings, you find yourself struggling, and mostly the biggest percentage really never get financial independence from the savings that NSSF is able to give you at the end of the cycle. And we can really again go back and look at the recent midterm benefits. If you know one or two of those people who got that, you'll be shocked that the status, pretty much the status hasn't changed. The status changed for 1 or 2 months. And I know many of them, the monies came and it came purely to pay debt. You find yourself so indebted that you're looking at the midterm saving, which comes at about 45 years for you to be able to pay up a debt. And that is not what the savings are meant to be. So those are some of the facts. And these are some of the things that we should be, reflecting on and trying to find solutions. It's not usually a simple thing, but most of these are things that we know. Most of these are things that all of us are, are aware at one point. So some of the illusions and facts about money, what are they? Some of the illusions, of course, is that sometimes we sit down and think there is that magic amount that will set you free. Sometimes you think if I move here and there, I will easily prosper on that other side of the fence. You'll be shocked at how many of us live, for example, to go and work in the Arab countries. You've had very bad, gruesome stories, and this is all about that. One is that, the other is that you cannot begin saving until you earn a certain amount of money. You have this, 500,000 that you get every month. And when you look at that figure, you imagine, no, I think if I'm able to reach a 2 million or a 3 million, that way I can begin saving. So that is what most of us go through. Of course, the normal is that we all have to enjoy our fruits of our sweat now. And that is the other illusion of money. When the payday comes for us who earn a salary, or when you're able to do very good sales in your business and you're able to realize a good profit margin, most times we think of, we do not think of tomorrow. We go into overdrive mode of trying to maximize the spending, but equally the happiness at that particular point. The other is that you can grow rich by using other people's money, and that can really be applied everywhere, whether it is loan money, whether it is from your investment club savings or any of those. Most times that is what we think. You find pretty much about 60-70% of the businesses, when you ask them the purpose of the loans that they are requesting for, they will tell you want to start a business. But by the time you're through with them on whether that is the right model, you find that they think, if I get this one loan, I'm able to get, off the ground on business. But most times that is not the truth. And then the other is that the level of education determines financial management and wealth, which in most cases is not really truth. And so those are some of the illusions that we struggle with every single day about money. But what are the realities of money? And you can see on the left side of your screen, rather on the right side of your screen, just a few of them. One is that money can build or tear a family. You will all agree with me. For some of us who are married, and for some of us who have had girlfriend and the like, disclosure sometimes is one of the hardest things that most of us struggle to deal with. But equally, you have when money comes in, when you're able to make a good progress in terms of income, most times you have problems at home. You become a small god at home, even when you're a humble husband or even when you're a humble wife. And so money can build or tear a family. How you manage it is purely up to you, and how you manage its effects is equally up to you. The other fact is that no salary increment or no income can guarantee financial freedom. Today you have a very thriving, for example, transport business, and today, wow, lockdown comes and they tell you you're grounded. You get this salary increment today, you think this is it, but before you know it, the level of living equally goes up the roof, and before you know it, you're still the grumbling, X that you were before the salary increment came. The other is that money leaks even where there are no holes, and for this we can all relate. The moment you have money in your pockets without a very good plan, you will most likely look at it or look at reviewing where this money goes. Sometimes in our heads, for the people who are brave enough, they are able to sit down and rate, how did I spend this? And you'll be shocked. You'll have 10 million today, but if you have no plan, by the end of 1 to 3 days, you're looking at where the money went and you're not able to put a finger to that. The other one is, of course, we all know life expectancy. We have a low life expectancy in this country, and so retirement is a must. And so that is a reality that sometimes we should be aware of, so planning has to come in before that reality, becomes a midlife or long life crisis, because most of us get distressed at the point when we think we should have done this, and we imagine you're retiring in 2-3 years, and when you look at what is at stake, you get so shocked. So opportunities come and go, where if you're in a good liquidity position today, most likely it's better you use it very well for tomorrow. Otherwise, it cannot always be like that. Sometimes, these are opportunities that God sent into our lives for us to be able to stabilize and move on. And of course, many of us are stressed. Why? Because money always seems little and the world problems are so many. And then, of course, only you and me are responsible for our story. Well, we can sit here and talk and talk and talk. At the end of the day, it is you who will sit down and say, you know what, this is what I will do. So what exactly are some of those things that you can do, and what we call the beginning? There are about 2 things that I'm going to discuss. The other one is mindset change, and the mindset change is very specific. If you're in employment, allocate specific hours for that. If you're able to spend some time, allocate that time for your own earning, and your own earning can be, most times we advise, like what Warren Buffett says, if you're going to do something that you can easily explain to a 5-year-old in about 2 minutes, and they are able to understand the business concept. If you're not able to understand the business, do not waste your time going into it. Why? Is because most times it ends in tears, most times it ends in losses, and most times it ends in regrets and debt sometimes. The other one is you can decide sometimes to invest in own businesses, and that way you're able to take the full risk. Why? Is because most of us who are employed most times think we can run these 2 things concurrently. While there has been success stories, the failure rates are so many. And so sometimes you need to do a lot of compromises. If you're going to work, the typical 8-5 job, and then you have a hustle downtown or a hustle somewhere, or in our district or wherever town we come from, that you think you can pull off. Most times each of those struggle, and so you find yourself struggling at work. You find yourself using the money you're earning, say, at work, to finance a business that ideally should be another additional income. And so you need to be very deliberate if you're going to invest in business. Most times, why most of the business people we see succeed is that they treat the business as if that's their life. They treat the business and give it them even much more time than they give their employers when they decide to go full throttle into business. Of course, there is investing in others, and investing in others most times now is the model that we are trying to advise me and you who are in employment, or me and you who has this one business, but this one business is what clearly sustains our lives, sustains our cash flows. So when you're able to meet with, if I meet with Irene and Dorothy and a Mark somewhere, what is bringing us together is purely that business idea. Most times you're not able to use it as if it's your personal business. Most times you'll struggle to go and get 100,000 from such a business. And what we have realized is that then you're able to put in place the management functions, you're able to put in place, the controls. And so somehow you're able to thrive, but equally work. So that is what we call invest in others. You can own shares, though it is a practice that most of us struggle with. We all most times want to have this business and which I can call mine and which I can do as and when I please. And so, but once you're working, those are some of the things that you need to consider. And then invest in property and other assets. Of course, most of us, by the nature of how we are brought up, by the nature of our country, we do a lot of investment in land. We do a lot of investment in land, but most times some of such investments have proven not to be very valuable in the short term. You most likely will find somebody with a square mile of land, but when a given problem comes into play, you need about 5, 10, 15 million, you practically struggle to raise the cash flows. And so equally, the investment in property and other assets should be such properties that can easily be liquidated, but equally can generate some income. So what is the wealth principle? And the wealth principle philosophies, we can look at about 5 beliefs. The first one is that you have to start with the end in mind. Look at where we are now. Imagine, where do I want to end? What will I be like in 20 years? If I retire, what kind of life do I need to lead? And then once you have that end in mind, then you're able to have a purpose. And the purpose, again, is what informs the 5th belief, that wealth is about your life's purpose. And so the 1, 2, and 5 are all interrelated. The other is that wealth is a lifelong journey. It won't be like a switch where you wake up tomorrow and you're wealthy or you're in a much better financial position. It has to be deliberate. Sometimes it has to be a very painful journey of compromises, of sacrifices, and of putting in the long hours. And so it is a lifelong journey, but it can be started now. The other one is risk is relative, and I'll explain this in terms of our families. If today I have a family of children who are the oldest being like 5 years, and some other person has children who are about to complete university, those are completely different risks. So you can't apply the other's philosophy or strategy on your own. Most times you'll struggle, most times you'll fail. And so risk is relative. What is risky here might not be risky there. What risk I have might not be your risk. And so we all need to know that. And then finally, you and your family are unique. You're unique in your own ways. Your family has competences that my family might not have. There are some of those strengths that you can leverage on your family, and that might be lacking in another. So each of us, each of our families is unique in a very different way. The issue is then how are you able to leverage on that uniqueness to be able to bring about the success that you desire. So one of those is the how. And one of those is that understanding your budget. And that is the first journey in a financial, freedom. Or if you're going to go for financial freedom, one of the things you need is that you have to manage your budget. You need to manage your income. You need to manage your expenses. You need to learn how to spend where it is not necessary. And you need to adopt the practice of trying to save the surplus. Don't do the spending and then you have this 500,000 that is remaining and you're struggling in your head to spend it somewhere. You're looking even for the things that are not there so that you're able to spend. And so you have to learn how to save that surplus to meet the future needs. And like you see on that slide, most times you have quite a number of things that are eating you up. You have a loan payment somewhere. Of course, you have to eat, you have an emergency, a call has come in and that. And so it's only sometimes when you're very clear and frugal on budgeting that you'll be able to manage some of these things. But other than budgeting, one of the other things is what we call cash flow management. Now, cash flow is the money available and how you spend it, or money in and out of your life, money in and out of your business. That money can be a salary, can be a business income, can be any kind of money that you're able to get. Now, how you plan or manage that that cash flow will ideally give you the impetus on how you can live your life in a much better or a much less stressful way. And so what are some of those key things that we look at in cash flow management? One is what we've already spoken about, the monthly budgeting processes. And usually the advice is that you do that when you don't have the money at the beginning of the month, when you're at your lowest. Usually it is advisable that you sit down and you're able to see, this is what I'm expecting and this is how you'll spend it, and try to follow through that budget. And there is, when you look at that slide, there is how you do it. The first is budget, then you earn, then you spend, and then you look at reviewing all the three. That is the budgeting, earning, and spending. And once you're able to do that, sometimes it is very difficult, especially if you haven't done it. But usually there is usually that first step in 1,000 miles. And me and you know that if we are to eat, we can do it. The other one is that you have to ruthlessly adhere to that budget ceiling. If you have put in your budget that I'll spend this, and you have, for example, allocated a specific portion for emergencies, there are these emergencies which are really not emergencies. You need to ruthlessly adhere to that. You need to ruthlessly adjust your life to meet the budget and the sources that you have put aside. And once you're able to do that, with time, you find a lot of ease in managing most of these. The other one is that include all stakeholders. Do not sit on your dining at the end of your meal and you do the budgeting alone. Sometimes you might need to, not sometimes, you always need to have your other life partner come in and try to look at that. That way you're able to manage the expectations. They're able to know where you're coming from. They're able to see the sources. And then you have a lot of peace when you involve the stakeholders, especially family, in this budgeting. The other one is definitely ignore public opinion and don't get, influenced by it. If Edward buys a car, there is absolutely no reason why I should equally go ahead and buy a new car. If a new number plate has come on board and I see my neighbor with it, it is none of my business. And so once we are able to learn that, then we are able to manage. The other one is try and get out of the consumption debt. How is by what we've been speaking, budgeting, managing the income, trying to contain the debt. And the consumption debt is spending before you earn. I earn a salary of 1 million, but by the time it reaches 28, you've already spent it even before it comes. You need to manage that. And then you have planning, which can be short-term. All of us know that next time we shall pay fees. That we can manage and we can plan now. All of us know that perhaps I need to own a home, and so I can begin on that now by putting a portion aside. Finally, where you're not able to do all that, try to acquire savings, try to go into investment habits. How you do that is being deliberate on some of these things: investment clubs, maybe investment groups, maybe project initiatives, and the like. So what are some of those things, or some of the keys to financial freedom or in managing your debt successfully? I have summarized them into 4. The first one is that you have to be aware of the hidden costs. If today I go to eat alone in any of the financial institutions, I will critically look at the terms. Mostly what many of us do is once you're in need, you do not care what the terms are. You'll only care about having the money first, and when things are bad, it's when you'll most likely go back into that documentation and try to understand what is this. But you find most of these have so many hidden costs. You have interest, you have a monitoring fee, you have an arrangement fee, you have a monthly, rather quarterly review, which comes at a cost, and that kind of stuff. Once you're able to be aware of those costs, then you're able to sit down and say, this is a debt that I think I can't afford, or you're able to jog the market in trying to get a better offer. The other is that beware of too much interest. Most of us take loans for not for the sake of it, we are in need, but sometimes you do not care about the interest. But most times this comes to bite. You struggle, taken the loan, you've put it in a business, the business is not generating enough. It's when you realize that, wow, I'm at 30% per annum, or I'm at 35% per annum, which is obscene. That's what I would call it. So once you're able to know some of these dynamics,
Anthony,
yes.
Can we close this in the next 2 minutes, please? Thank you.
Okay, next 2 minutes. Okay, so what are some of the strategies? One is that tackle the high debt with high rates, pay off some of the unsustainable debts, money lenders, credit cards. Understand your options. There are a lot of options in financial institutions and with lenders. Can be a debt consolidation, a waiver, a spread, a restructure. Sometimes we have very redundant assets that we don't need. So if possible, try and manage that, try and dispose of those assets and invest in a business or pay up a debt and many of those options. What is important is knowing that there are a lot of options and trying to get the best for yourself. Most times is why do we have to create and build, or how do you map the financial journey? One is that you position it for success, but you can only do that, or you can only achieve that if you invest in yourself, if you stay relevant, and if you stay focused and you are able to adhere to whatever you've set up. And why is that there are no shortcuts to this? As a salary earner, at some point you reach a point and the money decreases, you stop earning and you retire. So you need to plan that. As a business, you most times will have good growth, but sometimes that growth can be hindered by so many factors. It can be a URA tax, it can be, a COVID somewhere and that kind of stuff. So you need to know that. But most importantly, for us who have families, or for us who are still in our early stages of our careers, or for us who are parents, we still have a journey that we can look at. If you're young and you're promising, there are things that you can, deliberate things that you can do to make sure that your financial okay. If you're in that stage where you're getting married, it is important for you to know some of the aspects like will, like getting insured, like understanding that home loan. If you're a parent, there's again specific things that you can look at to do. And if you're at the retirement age, still you have a lot that you can do. So what are some of the options where you work? You have business training and advisory. We started business incubator which gives a lot of training and advisory to businesses. You can look at that. There are options where you don't need to do a lot of management. If you have some excess liquidity or money, fixed deposits, treasury bills, treasury bonds, you can do, or you can enter an investment club today. You need to be focused and you need to be sure which kind of investment club you're entering and what is the purpose and whether it fits into your life purpose. And many of those, you can start a business, but you need to plan. You need to look at whether you need a partnership. You need to look at what are some of those compromises. And so once you're able to do that, then you're able to live and enjoy. And how do you do that? How do you live and enjoy life? You live and enjoy life by doing almost what we have been discussing for this discussion. Thank you very much, Irene, and all the Rotarians. And it's been a pleasure to share with you. We can do the wealth creation. It's never too late. We can all begin where we are. And most times we have some of the motivators. You can look at KFC, which all of us know. The gentleman started the business when he was plus 65 years. So, of course, you have these ones who have started at 18, and like what it is that we all have those chances that come, and we all have an opportunity to start today and be able to be successful. Thank you very much, and over to you, President.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you so much for sharing your wealth of experience and knowledge with us this morning. Okay. Epi, you have a question? Your hand is up.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anthony, for such a rich presentation, which fits so much into what Rotary is currently looking at this month. I think in line with what you've just concluded with, to save and invest, I would like to remind all Rotarians that we have Rotarians Uganda Circle. This is our circle. I encourage you to save and invest together when you join and enroll into this circle. Thank you. Over to you, Patience.
Okay, President, thank you. I'll take one question because our time is fast spent, and then we'll do a chimeza. Anthony, I hope you have a few minutes to spare after 8 for any other
No worries.
questions. Oh, thank you so
No
much.
worries, Ms. Musimi. Okay.
Thank you so much. So I'll do this one from PP Fred Tuliraba. Nice presentation and support. My question is, if I get a loan payable in a particular period of time with a guarantee and the time expires before I pay, do they keep calculating interest after the period?
Okay, so I'll go straight into that.
Sure.
Hopefully I can answer as they come in. Now, usually when that happens, that is the worst kind of scenario, because then they will not only calculate the interest, but they will equally include penalties. Why? Is because the loan has expired and the tenor is well spent. But there are so many options that you can look at. And one of those options is that when you're able to realize that they won't satisfy this loan within the agreed time, it's very important to go to the bank and try to negotiate the terms on that loan. Some of those can include extension, can include restructures, can include perhaps reducing on the installment to be able to fit in your cash flows. But what is important is for you to know the options available to you and not letting it reach that circumstance or that kind of situation. So specifically to your point, it will become more expensive, but there are many ways to manage that once you're able to be on top of your game, and once you're able to know the terms of that loan, and once you're able to walk into these banks and be able to negotiate your way out. Those options are always available.
Thank you, Anthony. More questions will be in the chimeza. I will now call upon AP Hajara to amazingly give us a vote of thanks to our guest speaker. Thank you. Hajara, please unmute and give a vote of thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Session President. Hope I'm audible enough. Am I being heard?
Yes, Hajara, I can hear you, but you have background noise. I think it's coming from you, but please proceed.
Is it okay now?
A lot better, thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone on call. Good morning, everyone on call. It has been such an honor to be part of this wonderful session. On behalf of all Rotarians, Rotaractors, guests, I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest speaker today, Mr. Magezi Anthony. Thank you so much for accepting our
talking about financial literacy.
Pardon?
Hajara, proceed. It was just a noise disturbance. Thank you.
Thank you so much for accepting to share your knowledge this morning about financial literacy and debt management. Your thoughts have truly inspired us. We really appreciate. Thank you so much, Mr. Magez.
Okay, thank you. Amazing.
Welcome, and it's been a pleasure, really.
Okay, thank you, Sanyu, AP. I'll now call upon our Sergeant at Arms to give us the statistics in the next 3 minutes. Then we can close and go
to see me. Patience,
yes,
I want to request for 1 minute, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Patience. I have a guest in the room in the names of Christine Nimwesiga. She's one of the regulators of finances in this country. I wanted to just welcome her to Kampala Daybreak. Thank you very much, Patience and President, for this time.
Okay, thank you, Hajat Safina, our PP, and welcome, Christine, for sharing your morning with us. And you're welcome to join Daybreak. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Sitting President, or Ms. Musime. Today, participants on call were 207. We had 49 Rotary clubs, 11 Rotaract clubs, and 4 guests. Without any further ado, I'll go through the list of Rotary clubs on call, starting with Kampala Metropolitan, Kampala Maisha, Kampala South, Sunrise, Kampala Sese Islands, Bulindo, Rubaga Lakeview, Weyogere Nambole, Kampala South, Mityana, Port Bell, Kampala, Bukoto, E-Club of Intinda Metro, those are 3 clubs. Kampala, Makindye, Kampala Springs, Sonde, Kira, Kampala Morning Stars, Kisasi Chanja, Natete, Kampala Alibad, Kololo Mengo, Luboa, Kiwatule, Bulova, Nakawa, Sonde Global, Namasuba, Kampala Mahaba, Bulindo, Nansana, Akasha Sunset, Bwebaja, Mbarara Ranchers, Kampala Mpala, Kampala City, Kasangati, Inner Wheel Club of Kampala, Saturday E-Jazz, E-Club of Uganda Global, Nakawa, Sonde Modo, and Kigumba. The club of the day has been the Sunrisers with 15 members in attendance. Also, we recognize Rotarian Kasendwa, who is attending from South Korea. The Rotaract clubs present.
Kasengwa.
We had, come again?
Rotarian Kasengwa.
Kasendwa. Rotary clubs present: Mulago School of Nursing and Midwifery, Nambore, Ndeje City, Lira, Kampala North, Kabalore, Kampala City, Makindye, Kampala West, Bukoto, and Mukono. Our guests on call, registered guests are 3 or 4 with Christine. The first one being Miss Evelyn Ogwal, Marion Onyoy, and Esther Namara. Back to you, President.
Okay, thank you, Rotarian Wax. Can I call upon Rotarian Wilberforce Amanya to give us the final toast? Rotarian Wilberforce.
Thank you, Rotarian Patience. Amazing President, Rotarians and Rotractors and friends of Rotary on this call this morning. I congratulate you upon finishing this wonderful fellowship we have had this morning. And maybe through you, Mr. President, and the strawberries, I request that this wonderful presentation be shared among us. I'm sure it will change someone's life's trajectory in as far as financial literacy is concerned. And now, therefore, I invite you all to join me in a toast to Rotary International.
Rotary,
Rotary
world
over.
Rotary is over.
Safina, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Rotary is over. Rotary is over.
Rotary, the world over.
I am talking.
Chibedi, good morning.
Good morning to you, how are you, please?
The world that is
I'm
over.
okay.
Good morning.
How are you? Good morning to you, how are you doing?
I am a bit okay, sir. How are you?
Happy to hear from you. I have missed you for a long time.
Jaja Mzungu, you must be more than okay.
Kibedi, you keep quiet until the world is over.
You wait. The nuclear weapons are about to
who is managing
You are not in Russia.
This is not Chimeza. To be managed. Speak at will.
Friends, how are
Just
you?
listen to each other.
No, but
Hey, Judy, how are you, my world-class president?
Okay, members. Some members have questions.
Have been overthrown. What is happening?
Okay, let's do Chimeza. Some members have questions. Can I have some order in the room, please? Thank you. Okay. Rotarian Jane Kavugo, please, your hand is up. You can ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our moderator of the Chibeza, I have a question for Anthony. It is about borrowing for consumption. What are your views about borrowing for consumption? And why do banks encourage people to borrow for consumption? Something that
you are the one who structures those things, Jane.
into a rat race.
Jane, you are the one who structures those things, by the way.
No, I am not. I'm asking Anthony.
She just automated the process.
Anthony, please come in and answer Jane's question.
My work was the systems.
Jane and Dawood Semakula know very well what they were doing in the bank.
Well, we are not there now. It is Anthony, so let's hear from him.
Anthony, did you get Jane Kavugo's question?
Maybe he's off.
Is Anthony still here? Let me see. Anthony, oh Christ, he's already signed out.
But I know the answer.
Okay, please, Chibedi, please come in and give us the answer.
After saying that he will stay around, then he has...
Maybe lost connection.
Noise that came up may be discouraged.
Anything could have happened.
So Jen can answer her question.
No. Can you proceed to answer my question? James, please go ahead.
No, Jen, what I remember, you automated that process, but somebody else was responsible for the process.
The thing is, having known Ugandans' marginal propensity to consume, you use that to be able to do business and create more money. It's a business thing. Ultimately, it's not looking at the consumer, it's looking at the business making more money for the shareholders. In a capitalistic world, that's what happens. So the consumer has got to be wise to know that I cannot borrow for consumption and I need to borrow for investments in things that make more money. But people are that illiterate.
Yes.
I think Anthony is back.
Oh, is he back?
Anthony, are you there?
No, I don't see him back. He's not yet signed in.
Yeah,
I can see Anthony Abbott and
to add to that of Chibedi, what is important when you are looking for money, you come with the products which you know are on the market. For example, you can come with a wedding loan and it becomes very popular. Of course, it's consumption, but people will come for it and will get profit out of it. So it is the name of the game is just profit. These banks are not welfare organizations to think about your welfare. That's the way I put it.
So, Mukulu Wechika, I think you are advising that people should borrow from their circles.
They should borrow whether from a circle or not. It should not be a consumption one, a consumption loan. Otherwise, you are eating future money today.
Anthony is back. Anthony, I had a question for you.
Please go for it.
I was asking what your views are about consumption borrowing and why do banks encourage people to borrow for consumption, something that keeps them into a rat race?
Okay, so my one is that borrowing is not bad as a matter of fact, but most cases why you borrow is what should be important. And for me, I wouldn't advise that kind of consumption borrowing. Why? Is because it completely adds no value to you. I've seen some of what we do as banks. Most times, of course, we'll encourage you to come and take this salary advance, to come and take, this salary loan. But there are specifics that most of the banks have looked at. For example, they will not tell you to go beyond 50% of what you're earning. In most cases, it will be tied at about 40%. Why? Is because they are aware that you cannot keep somebody, or somebody can, borrowing for consumption is bad. Ideally, that awareness is there. The problem that we do, or we always make, is that there are quite so many financial institutions that even after taking a 40% from Bank X, you look at the 60% and wherever you're seated, you say, no, I can go to XYZ and utilize the 60%. And so you find at the end of it all, you have about 100% of your income fully attached to borrowings, and you're in practically a rat race to get out of that. So to your point, consumption debt is bad. Two is that most times let us try to borrow once we have a much more useful purpose. And three is that where you're unable to not go for the consumption, where you're unable and you have to go for the consumption debt, please try to restrict it to about 40% of your income. That way you can be able to offset it at any time that you want, and you can be able to contain or manage it for future plannings. That is what I would advise. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Any other question, or we close this now? Rotarian James Onyoin, please come in.
Thank you, Buddy. Patience. Mine is not a question, but just information that
She has become
Daybreak...
Precious. She was Patience before.
Okay, good. Thank you. Mine is just information to Daybreakers who are members of the Daybreak Investment Club. Myself and Frederick Chibedi will be reaching out to you during this week because we want to encourage you that we could now move whatever savings we have at the Daybreak Investment Club to the Rotarian Circle. That's the proposal which is on the table, and we think it is a good idea. There's no need having so many small investment clubs or circles. Let's all move to the Rotary one, to the general one for Rotary. And Frederick and myself will go to Centenary Bank next week to start that process. But we'll reach out to you individually. Thank you.
Thank you, PhD James. That's an amazing proposal. I think that Daybreakers will buy into it. And thank you, Patience. I don't know if you're still on call. You've really done an amazing job. Our presenter, our guest speaker, Anthony, that was really an amazing one. Thank you very much for your time. Friends, Rotarians, Rotaractors on call, if there are no further questions, we would like to end this Timeza session.
Mr. President, just one more.